Hi garden friends, I am here with this week's activity video. We are going to look at this newspaper. This newspaper is some educational material from the California Department of Agriculture that they provide to classrooms so students can learn about agriculture, which is the business of growing plants for food in the state of California. So it's a perfect newspaper for our garden students to read and find some activities to do. So this week, instead of our regular, very active curriculum that we usually have for garden, we kind of have a catch-up week. We have at least a couple of classes that are going to work on their 3D tree project this week. And so if you are in one of the classes that is just starting your 3D tree project, you can just focus on that. And if you have time to look at the newspaper, that's great. If you don't, that's okay too. Hold on to it because we may refer to it in later weeks. For those of us that have already done our 3D tree project, then we have this newspaper to check out. Now, there are about a dozen, maybe even more than a dozen's 12, right? There's maybe even more than 12 different articles in this newspaper. And what I would like for you to do this week, if you are not working on your 3D tree project, or if you do work on that and then you finish it and you want to do some of the activities in the newspaper, if you are in TK, kindergarten, or first grade, I would like you to pick at least one article or activity to read and do in the newspaper. If you are in second and third grade, I would like you to pick at least two. And if you are a fourth or fifth grader, I would like you to pick at least 3 articles or activities to do from this newspaper. Now that might sound like a lot, but some of the articles are only 1 page long. So it's not like I'm asking you to read a whole book, okay? There are lots of fun, it's not opening for me. There are lots of fun articles in here. So this is our cover page of our newspaper. It's kind of, I say newspaper, we think of a newspaper, usually it's folded a little differently. This is a little bit more like a magazine, but it's on newspaper type paper, right? So it's called What's Growing On. Growin on, sorry. It's got the apostrophe there so you don't pronounce the G. And it talks about specialty crops. Specialty crops are some things that are grown. Probably actually more than just California has specialty crops, right? If you think about Georgia, if you don't know, is famous for peaches. So Georgia's specialty crop would be peaches. And Texas is famous for pecans. So California has a variety of specialty crops. And so if you want to read about some of those, you can read, look at that, just that first little article right there. Now, my younger students, if you are not reading independently yet, hopefully you will have an adult that can help you, or maybe you have an older brother or sister or cousin that could help you with reading your newspaper this week, okay? And then let's see, we have a table of contents. So just like in some of your textbooks, right, you have a table of contents, and that'll give you a list of all the different activities and articles in the newspaper. So you can pick to read 1, 2, or 3 articles depending on your grade. So there's this really neat article on the second, once you turn the second page, called Leave It to Herbs. And I thought that was a really fun one because we have some herbs growing in our school garden. I wonder if some of you remember toward the back corner near the fence that Sachiko helped us paint a few years ago, we have chocolate mint. We have, I'm trying to remember, I think we have like a regular mint and a chocolate mint. We have rosemary, we have lavender, we have oregano, we had basil. Basil doesn't like the cold weather, so the basil has decided it's done, and we'll plant it again in the later spring because basil really likes the summer. I'm trying to think, thyme. We have thyme and oregano in the back corner. So we have a variety of herbs growing in the garden, and they're always fun to taste when you're in the garden. You can always pull a little leaf off of those and give them a taste. And when you're cooking, if you help your adults cook, you can always suggest adding herbs to something like spaghetti sauce. Oregano, basil, and thyme are things that you often use in Italian cooking. So spaghetti, lasagna, any kind of pasta dish, a lot of those herbs can be used in those dishes. The mints that we have, those can sometimes, if you take just like one stalk of it and put it in a glass of water or a glass of tea, they add a really nice minty flavor to it. So there's lots of fun ways to use herbs. So maybe you want to read this article about herbs. And then there's an article about edible flowers. Now, I don't know if you remember, but in our garden, we have some edible flowers. We grow borage, we grow nasturtium. I'm trying to think, what are the other flowers we grow? I wonder if any of you can remember what other flowers we grow that are edible. Not all flowers are edible, but we do grow quite a few of them. Let's see. There's also this neat article about cabbage, cauliflower, and the cruciferous crew. That's a big word. Can you say cruciferous? Cruciferous. Cruciferous is a descriptive word for a specific group of vegetables that include cabbage and cauliflower. So if you want to learn a little bit about those vegetables, you could read that article. And there's even a recipe here for a cauliflower pizza crust. So maybe you can ask one of your adults to pick up some cauliflower and you can try that recipe. That would be really fun. I'd love to hear about the recipe if you try it out. Let's see, and so then there's an article on leafy greens. If you want to learn more about lettuce and some different greens, that would be a fun one to read. And there's a lettuce experiment here. Now you're going to want, if you wanted to try this lettuce experiment right here, you'll want to ask your adult for help because you'll need a few supplies to do that experiment. But it might be a really fun one, and it's not too complicated. You mainly just need like food coloring, water, and some leafy greens. You'd need a couple pieces of lettuce. Let's see. So there's an article about specialty crop gardens, and it tells you kind of all about the keys to a successful garden, which, you know, you're my garden friends. You all know how to be great gardeners, but it's always great to learn more about subjects that you know about, because I'm a garden teacher, right? And supposedly I know everything no, I don't know everything about the garden. I am learning all the time about how to improve our garden, how to improve our soil, how to grow new types of plants. So it's really fun to just continue learning all through your life. So I know you're great gardeners, but maybe this has some tips we haven't learned yet. That'd be great. Let's see, so there's an article about citrus fruits. Now remember, citrus fruits are things like lemons and oranges and grapefruits. They're really yummy, and they're in season now. We're coming into winter, and winter is the season when citrus fruits are what we say in season. That means that their trees that they grow on are having, the flowers are all turning into the fruit, and the fruit is ripening so that we can harvest it and eat it or juice it or cook with it, whatever we want to do. Let's see. And then there's some more information about nutrition and how you should make sure you're eating kind of all the colors of the rainbow. Some of you may remember a couple of years ago when we got to do a rainbow smoothie and learn about some of the vitamins that are in different foods and why it's important to eat things that are red and orange and green and purple. All of the colors of the rainbow, the foods have different vitamins and nutrients that will make our bodies healthy. So that's really fun. Let's see, we have an article about tops, middles, and bottoms, a guide to edible plant parts. So earlier this year, we learned about the parts of plants that you can eat. And remember, you can eat, depending on the plant, you can eat all the different parts. So there's some plants, you eat the roots, some you eat the leaves, some you eat the stalk. So if you want to refresh your memory on that topic, you might want to read that article. And then some of my older friends might enjoy doing this crossword puzzle. And younger students, you can get some help and do it too if you'd like. crossword puzzles can be really fun. Sometimes they're a little hard though, so maybe if you wanted to do it with friends, you could get in a meet together and work on the crossword puzzle together. Let's see. It tells you, this article says, it's the pits, all about the droop group. That's kind of funny sounding, isn't it? The droop group. So it's talking about fruits like apricots and plums and peaches, all of those fruits that have that big center pit. They're called droops. It's kind of a funny word, isn't it? Droop. Okay, a couple more pages I'm going to go over real quick. Here is a neat article that talks about the different, I forgot the word I was going to use. Do you ever do that where you were about to say something and whoop, the word just kind of slipped out of your mind? It's talking about your plate. So this is your plate, and it suggests that you have this much of a portion of vegetable and this much of protein, this much of grains, and this much of fruits. So you can learn more about how to organize a healthy diet. So sometimes we just want to eat fruit, like let me just eat fruit all day. The trouble with that is though, fruit gives you a lot of sugar and a lot of fiber, but there's really not any protein or fat in it. And your body needs all of those things. We need carbohydrates, which are sugar, and we need protein, and we need some fat. Not a lot of fat, but a little bit of fat is really healthy. So you don't want to eat just fruit all day. You got to make sure your meals are balanced, right? So maybe you just have some fruit for breakfast, but make sure the next few meals are more balanced, right? That's important. You can learn more about that on that article. And then the second to last page here is a glossary. A glossary is like a mini dictionary. So it has kind of like our vocabulary page. It has a variety of food and garden words here, and it defines them for you. So if you're into reading the glossary and learning, increasing your vocabulary, that might be a fun page to read. And then on the back, there's a few little did you know tips. I wonder if anyone wants to learn the did you knows. And then the back part shows all the sponsors. These are all the different companies that helped fund printing these newspapers for California students. So there's just a quick review of the newspaper. You're going to pick 1 to 3 of these articles or activities and do that on your own. And make sure you go to my Google form and let me know which article you read. I'd love to hear what you learned, what you liked, if you tried the recipe or if you tried the leafy green experiment. Let me know all about it, okay? And be sure to share with your classmates and your teachers. All right, so have a great garden week. I know this newspaper article, all of our activities for it are mostly indoors, but make sure you take a few minutes to get outside every day and enjoy the sunshine and the fresh air. And, if you can sit under a tree, that's one of my favorite places to be. Or just enjoy the sunshine wherever you can. Even if it's just a little spot on your front porch, you can be outside, listen for some birds, maybe look for, I wonder, what kind of insects are around right now? I haven't seen very many bees, probably because there's not a lot of flowers blooming, right? So the pollinators aren't attracted. So I wonder what insects you might find. Maybe have that be your outdoor element this week. Just take some time to sit outside and look and listen and see if you see any insects. Who's around now that it's almost winter? Okay. All right, garden friends, have a great week, and I will talk to you again soon. Remember, there is a live on Wednesday at 11:30. I would love to see you there.